If you see something that's in parentheses, that's a 3-year average, right? And the 3-year average goes before COVID, after COVID, after COVID. You can look down and see our different gap groups. In each area, we have exceeded where we needed to be, which is fantastic. But it doesn't mean that we rest on our laurels, because we will constantly improve, and it gives us a place to identify and to work on strategies to continue to improve and make sure our students excel. So what about over time, looking longitudinally? If you see here, we're going to go year by year, and right now we're just looking at English. I want you to notice in the middle that testing accreditation was suspended for 2 of our testing years, and that was 2019-20 and 2020-21. Prior to COVID, looking at English, 2017-18, before we even thought of anything, we're looking at the elementary school at 92%, the middle school at 90%, and the high school at 94%. Moving on to 18-19, we have 93%, 91%, and 94%, so slow gains. Everything halted when we went to our hybrid model, and then schools closed. When we come back, 2021-22, the elementary school is at 94%, 86% for the middle school, 93% for the high school. One thing to keep in mind for some of these rates, especially when you're looking at things at the high school last year, we had a lot of those waivers. So waivers were given to students, so if they happened to be enrolled in a class during a year, they were waived from taking the test. And you see that in some of our different data. There were no waivers for us this year. For our assessment year this year, we're at 91% English. That's for the elementary school, 88 for the middle school, and 88 for the high school. So definitely zoning in and zeroing in on those small standards and strands. For our math SOLs, you can see 17-18, we have 91, 92, 82, 18-19, 97, 95, 86. Halt of instruction in person. We move back into 21-22 at 94, 92, and 79. And then we start to go back up at the high school at 88, 88 for the middle, and then 91 for the elementary school. Science is going to be the last indicator that we go over, and you might wonder, why in the world don't we have social studies? Well, we test for our social studies. Technically, when it comes to this, we have our in-house, locally developed assessments as well. For science, 17-18, we have 91, 92, 82. 18-19, 97, 95, 86. Over to 21-22, 94, 92, 79. Again, for science, you have that dip where our standards were created, and then we're going to 91, 88, and 88. The last category you're going to see is our chronic absenteeism, and I think this is very telling when you look at COVID, to see prior to COVID, and these are the percent of students that are considered chronically absent, meaning they are missing 10% or more of their school time. 17-18, at the elementary school, we had about 5%. 7 at the middle, and 9% at the high. The following year, 5, 7, and 6. COVID occurs, and just like the rest of the nation, we jumped. 21-22, we're looking at 11% for elementary, 17% for the middle school, and 14% for the high school. And then for this past year, 14%, 14%, and 15%. So what are some things we're doing about chronic absenteeism? Well, one thing is that we've kind of structured and tightened up a little bit on our attendance policy when it comes to notes and writing notes for coming in. Remember that chronic absenteeism applies to unexcused absences and excused absences. So it's something we need to work with our entire community on, and making sure that we are getting students to school every day. Students who come to school every day perform more successfully and master more content, and you see that in your results and your performance data as well. Earlier this year, we talked about VVOS. VVOS is Virginia's system right now it's a value-added system. So what we do is it is a program that looks at students. And instead of comparing students to a number and saying, you gotta hit 400, it's one size fits all, everyone hit 400. We no longer look at a performance measure. We look at a student individually and encourage growth. So when we look at anything that's value added, it's not based on proficiency, it's not based on achievement, it's based on the student themselves growing compared to themselves. Meaning, if I go and I take a math 2, second grade math, and I score at this level, the next, well, let's go with 3 since that's where it starts, 3. 4th grade, I'm here. 5th grade, I have another score. They take those 3 scores, and the algorithms can, North Carolina has shown, very successfully predict where you will score the next year based on your growth. Not only that, it factors in other students who have scores and backgrounds exactly like yours. So it gives an indicator not only to our teachers of how much learning should be occurring, but our parents and our families as well. There is no minimum cut score. We still have it for our SOLs. We still have it for accreditation and accountability. But we don't judge students on a score anymore. We expect the growth, and we're encouraging that. And of course, growth expectation is based upon each student's own previous achievement. Different reports that come out of VVAS. We have school reports. Schools are able to see as a school how they're doing. Grade levels compared one year to the next. We expected this much growth for our students based on their past assessments, and we missed the mark a little bit. Or we expected this much growth and they exceeded our expectations. It gives us a real indicator of how much students are learning. It goes from the past of the old saying that some students are going to learn it no matter what, or some students are going to get it no matter what. We want to know how much we actually taught them and how much they've learned. The division reports we can see as a whole, all of our schools combined. But what we're going to focus on for just a second are our student reports. Some of you may recall that at the end of the year, our schools sent out information about the VVAS portal, and information was given out about student reports and how to see your student's report. So here's an example for one of our students who was a 10th grader. Looking at this student report, schools are able to look into it and see what the testing information is. It gives a list of all of their scores that they've taken. For example, this is looking at, I believe, math. We want to know predicting, see where it says future predictions and it's circled? We want to know a student who is currently enrolled in Algebra 2, I think it's Algebra 2. Student who is currently enrolled in Algebra 2, hasn't taken the assessment yet. We want to be able to predict, is the student predicted to pass, maybe even pass advance right now? We can look over here at the bottom and you see that they give you a fail, pass proficient, and a pass advanced rating. It tells us 100% this child is beyond the 400 mark, right? So there's no reason that child should fail. Pass proficient, we're looking at about 97% right there. So 97%, this child's most likely going to score higher in the pass proficient, but there is a probability that there might be a pass advance. The system, the longer you are in school, the better the prediction and accuracy is. With students who are able to do this in, can't be 3rd grade because that's your first testing year, but in 4th grade, once they hit 4th grade, we're starting to establish our testing pattern. But once your child is in high school, spot on. Other assessments, as you see, and this is one of our student reports, you see the SOLs that were currently taken, an explanation of where they are for each of their SOLs. You can even chart out your growth there, where you have your 6th, your 7th, your 8th onward. It charts out your math, reading, writing, science, and social studies. Over at the bottom, just a table layout where we can see the different percentiles that are there. It tells us if they pass, pass advanced, fail, pass proficient. It's an incredible amount of data, and it's now in the hands of our teachers that can do amazing things for small grouping, for individualized instruction, and for differentiation, and we're really excited about it. So this is going to be one of our goals this year, is truly training our staff members on how to use it and how to use it for learning to really impact our students. And this is the explanation that is on VDOE website about understanding the student assessment report. This also was along with the information sent out. So where are we at now? One of our goals this year is to really focus on inquiry and innovation. That comes from our dual language immersion we brought to the board last year. That is a primary goal of ours, of identifying a teacher, identifying students whose families are interested in this program, and then moving forward so that we have a dual immersion class, maybe 2 classes, starting in kindergarten next year. Es muy bueno. Innovation grants, we are searching for innovation grants now for STEM, for anything that is related to the science and technology field in order to really push and get programs into our schools. That also comes back into reestablishing our partnerships with NASA. Prior to COVID, we had strong partnerships, and so we're looking at reaching back out and bringing them into our schools and seeing if there's a way to get our students to have that dialogue conversation. Dual enrollment, we have one student who has been going through some dual enrollment classes trying to get an associate's. We want to make that a reality for our students. So we are in talks with Virginia Peninsula Community College and how we can establish different opportunities for our students, whether it be on campus or bringing those classes to us, or a hybrid model of the two. And again, our STEM opportunities that we are bringing. Currently, we have makerspace labs. We have our lab that was over at the middle school. Very excited at the high school. They are working on a project and just ordered the materials for a greenhouse. That will be a large greenhouse that is over there. It's step 1 of having an interdisciplinary type of program where it's almost like a farm-to-table approach. Growing your produce, having your students learn about the science behind it and the biology, and then bringing in your culinary students, right? There's so much you can do with something like that, bringing in your special education students, your marketing. So the goal is to have a project that is project-based for the entire school. And as you know from our great leader, a high tide floats all the boats. And so our goal coming up this year is going to be truly to work within PLCs in our buildings, to have data-driven conversations that are ongoing as a process, and to focus on drilling down to the skills and increasing the rigor that is in our school building to bring us back where we need to be. And that is what I have for you. Do I have any questions?
I have a
Yes,
couple
sir.
questions on the VIVAS.
Yes.
So I know in North Carolina, they instituted this a long time ago, and they have another measure for like teacher value added or teacher effectiveness scores. Is Virginia doing anything like that with their, is it mostly just student-centered with the use of the data?
You want to take that?
I can answer that, Tim. It started in the infancy stages now in Virginia. Virginia has just adopted the version of EVOS that North Carolina's been using for about 15 years. There hasn't been any discussions yet of the teacher portal to that, which does have an evaluative measure to performance. It actually counts as a portion of the student's overall performance accountability. Those decisions haven't been made in Virginia yet. That's the path it looks like it's on. Everybody's trying to read the tea leaves to see if, where it's headed. There's a lot of training that has to happen. Having gone through this personally in North Carolina when it was first launched. It's a SAS product that is invented there in North Carolina at SAS, and it has been perfected over the years. The first few years in North Carolina were a bit bumpy, because they kind of launched it all together, and the teacher evaluation piece was in it, and there was a lot of blowback from that, as you would imagine. We're hopeful that Virginia will launch this in a more systematic way, where we're using it as it was designed as a tool for teachers to grow each student based on their past performance. It is an innovative model. Having used it for a lot of years, I have found it to be extremely accurate, especially as you get older and there's a lot of data in that testing pool to predict performance. But so far, I know it's a long answer to a short question, the teacher evaluation piece is not added yet.
Yeah. I guess I agree, like, that was the, people were against it first, because they're trying to get you, right? So I was just wondering what they were doing at Virginia.
And that's what we're hopeful, that Virginia doesn't adopt that "I'm going to get you" model with using this as a tool that it was really not designed for, you know.
And second question on that is on the student side, where do you see I know it's supposed to be, kind of student-centered, focus on the individual. So when you have like high-achieving students, if they already test so high, if they're in the 95th, 96th percentiles on these tests, how is that growth? Where do you kind of hit a ceiling and still push those kids?
Yeah, that's the magic of this program. The value-added component is they're being measured only against students who are just like them with a similar testing history. So if Ms. Martin and I were in the same class taking the same assessment, her assessment would be predicted to be much higher than mine, I'm certain. And so we would each individually be compared, and our data expectation would be compared to students who have a similar testing history to us. So the kid you're describing who's at the top rung, maybe an AP science student who takes an SOL would end up with a prediction of a very high score. And so it would be measuring that year's worth of growth for that particular student compared only to students who have a similar testing history. So that's his or her growth expectation. Very different for each individual kid. And so I always used to, when we trained staff back in North Carolina on EVOS, we would train teachers to use it as buckets. You get the data and you say, okay, this kid is going to be in a bucket compared to kids expected to be in blue on everything. And so if he doesn't perform with that year's worth of growth, he's going to show up in green or maybe red. And it's going to actually measure not against the cut score, but against this student's performance against kids who look just like him academically. It comes, all the things that you would put into a formula, special needs, is built in because the student is compared to other kids who have similar needs. All those dynamics are kind of built into the program. So it is truly a growth measure, not a proficiency measure.
Yeah, I have a question, and thank you for the presentation. You mentioned that teachers went to DC. What did they go there for?
So Fredericksburg, right along that area, but we have VTSS training. We have a grant that we have applied for to get a lot of different professional development, VTSS being that tiered systems of support, making sure whether it is behavioral, academic, related to attendance. The ones that were in DC, a lot of it was the data-driven, how to really dig into your data to determine, one, behaviorally, what is it we're looking at, how do we stop these trends, the other thing, academics. So it's a little bit deeper. It's called DITM. It's DITM, but it's data-informed decision-making. There you go, data-informed decision-making. Thank you, in the back.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, thank you all so much.
Ms. Spence, would you like to do the financial update?
Good evening, Chairwoman Martin, school board members, Mr. Tillett. Unfortunately, there are no General Assembly updates to report regarding any additional fiscal year 24 funding for the additional 2% salary increases for school staff. So I have nothing to report in that area. So for the financial update this evening, I would like to share with you in the community some of the financial reporting that occurs during the fall months. So let me begin at the local level. Each month, as you find in your board packet, we prepare a monthly financial reports, and this is, of course, included for your review and approval. And at the end of each fiscal year, staff prepares a financial report. This report is provided to the city staff and is the basis of our annual independent financial audit. This audit process generally begins in late May and continues through the month of October. The auditor reviews all aspects of our operations to include revenues and expenditures, payroll, procurement, fixed assets, federal grants, and also the school activity funds. They actually have just completed that and have given it to us for a review, so we'll be presenting that to you probably next month. There's a statutory requirement that this audited report, also known as the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, be submitted to the state auditor of public accounts during the month of December. This report will come to you as well during the month of December, and we're actually wrapping up all of our work right now, and they'll be coming on site next month. In addition to the local reporting, there are a number of reports that have to be submitted to the state level, one of which is the annual school financial report. This is a comprehensive report that requires staff to take this final financial report and put it to a format prescribed by the state. This is done for a couple of reasons. There are 132 school divisions across the state, and not all the school divisions use the same financial systems. All of these different systems generate very unique reports, so in order to get consistent and comparable data, they require us to put it all in a standard format. And this is very important because the information we provide is used by the state to re-benchmark our K-12 funding for our budget funding for future years. And the state has divided 9 different categories of expenditures. There's instruction, administration, attendance, health, transportation, food service, operations, facilities, technology, debt service, and contingency. Though we do not use the last 2 categories, the city, of course, is responsible for issuing any debt service for the school division. Included in the instructional category are general instruction, media, guidance services, offices of the principals, gifted, and remedial instruction. The subcategories are further defined by elementary and secondary expenditures. And the state defines the elementary education as grades K through 7 and secondary education as grades 8 through 12. For this one state report, there were over 50 individual worksheets requiring some form of data entry separate from the system we currently use. And all it takes about 3 weeks to prepare, which this report has to be submitted by September 30th. Now, once this report is submitted, the reporting doesn't end there. A window opens where Dr. Ratliff has to start beginning to prepare a detailed transportation report. In addition, we have 2 additional finance reports that have to be required on the heels of this report, the annual school report. And they're the special education set-aside report and the average teacher salary report. Now, of course, these reports comes with a high degree of accountability because these are all public documents that go with some level of review, examination, of audit. And the annual school report has to be submitted to our auditor. And that concludes my report. Except that I do want to make a note here that the budget season for 24-25 is right around the corner, and I'll be submitting the budget calendar next month for your review. We're hoping to start it earlier this year to give time for our staff out in the field, our principals and so forth, so they can meet with their teams to be able to get for the 24-25 year. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. So under the 9 categories, what is the health category there for?
That would be your psychology, our nurses, also social worker. Yes.
So the administrative
Yes.
aspect of it?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
and out in the schools, yes. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yep.
Dr. Ratliff, for the operations update?
Good evening, Madam Chair Martin, board members, and Mr. Tillett. was really worried I was going to say Madam Chair Helsel. So
It's okay. I've been called worse.
I expect to say that before this is all said and done. So I do want to go through the operations update with you tonight, and we have several different aspects of the kind of the inner workings and of the summer of what goes on in the school division and what all we've done. It's been a really busy summer for us. And we truly have accomplished a lot with the help of a lot of different people. But first off, we wanted to talk about human resources a little bit and where we are. I have, the first thing I have here is informal surveys. While we frequently talk to our counterparts in other divisions and kind of know where, I'll say informally, where everyone is around us and how many teachers they have to hire, how many staff they have to hire. As everyone knows, that's really one of the hot issues right now, is trying to get staffing in place for schools. The information that I'll say I can give you is we have far fewer positions that are needed than any of the surrounding divisions that we have. I put by percentage just when you have to look at the relative numbers, when you compare us to Virginia Beach, you know, obviously the numbers are going to be different, but we are even in significantly better shape when you look at things as a percentage than really anywhere around us that I've spoken to and I know about. We do have approximately 300 employees, and that does fluctuate a little bit at any given time, a little bit more or less, and that doesn't include any people that we contract out or any other employees that are in or out, just our full and our part-time employees. So as at the end of this past year, we had 2 fewer employees left employment with Poquoson City Schools than we did the year prior, which honestly, you always want to see less, but that's really good when you look at, again, in comparison to what we've talked about with some of the other divisions around, because that isn't the norm. The norm that you're seeing right now is you're seeing a lot of people leaving and fewer people coming back in. We did add 6 new positions this year. We added a special education coordinator, a literacy instructional coach, and 4 school security officers. And if you remember, we talked about that. That's a grant-funded position. That's a 4-year grant cycle. Last year, we had 11 unfilled teaching positions and 6 unfilled staff positions. And staff meaning basically how I've clumped everything is teachers and everybody else. So staff is kind of a mixture of everyone. So that left us with 17 positions last year that we didn't have filled, and the majority of those didn't go filled throughout the school year. Our principals did a really good job in accommodating for that, and a lot of people are stretched really thin between our administrators, between our teachers, but we got through. I am happy to say this year we're in a lot better shape than we were even last year. Currently, as of today, we've got 11 unfilled positions. 5.5 of those are teaching positions, and 9 of those are staff positions. Of those 9, 4 are the school security officer positions. So really, you can almost take that out of the mix to get a kind of an apples to apples comparison to see exactly where we're at in staffing. We have tried to hire 1 school security officer, and he did take a job elsewhere in security. I looked today, and from over the weekend, we actually have, I think, 3 applicants. So we knew it was going to be tough to get applicants for these based on conversations that we had had with some of the surrounding divisions. But as I looked today, I was encouraged that we may be able to actually start putting these in place as time goes on. I'll say, probably the best words I can use is we were very aggressive in hiring this year, and we started probably in January with the job fairs, and we hit as many as we could. And sometimes when you're at these job fairs, you feel like you're literally chasing the people down, pulling them in to talk to them, but just to get your name out there and what you're doing and how you're doing it. We started hiring early, as early as we could. I would say as early as February, we were probably hiring for this coming year. Ms. Purdy's done a really good job with social media and getting things out on social media and really publicizing as much as we can in a good, positive, proactive way. Word of mouth. When I first came, it was easy for me to pull from surrounding divisions to get people in a lot better shape, and that seems to be happening again. for as many challenges as we can have, sometimes we still have a really good school division, and people still like to come here so they can get in a better situation. Our principals have done a phenomenal job with hiring. They've been very proactive, they've been very assertive, and the other thing that they've done is they've been really creative in the staffing needs, in positions that we know are going to be hard to fill. What plans do we have that we can accommodate these hard-to-fill positions? So they've done a really good job all the way around. Some of the positions we've looked at, student needs, school needs, and we have been able to reallocate, shuffle things around to help with needs. And then the other option that we're currently looking at is some alternative staffing needs. For example, with special education, there are some alternatives to staffing that we're looking to see if it's going to be a possibility for us to utilize. If so, then that teacher number probably is going to go down even by a couple of positions, but that is something that we're still exploring.
Before you move on, Dr. Ratliff, I want to just add this one point to that. He said it a couple of times, but I don't think it can be overstated. This is an extraordinary time in public education, in recruiting and hiring high-quality educators. We're in a national educator shortage, and everybody's feeling it. I don't attend a meeting anywhere among colleagues that it's not the number one thing talked about. When he talked about informally talking around the region, we've tried to take that pulse all summer, simply because he's given you the really positive version of this, but in the weeds on this thing, and the folks who get the credit are sitting back there on the back row. Our principals have done an extraordinary job of beating the bushes and being creative, because the old days of you look on the computer and there's 15 applicants for an elementary school position are gone. We're competing against everybody everywhere in a very shallow pool. So their work has been extraordinary, and I just want to say that publicly. I thank them. I tell them as often as I can. They've been creative. We've got alternative license folks in the building, people who are career switchers, military folks who we've hired several of those folks who are joining our teams for the first time in this business, meet all the qualifications to be lateral entry. We've been very creative of how we're staffing our schools. So just know that going in. These are not necessarily, 15, 20-year veteran teachers who are slipping down the street from Hampton or Newport News or what have you there. It's been an extremely competitive environment. We are better off than our neighbors, but it's because we've done some pretty creative things. And I'm going to just say this as we get ready to start talking about budget earlier this year. The pay raises are wonderful, but it actually hurts us. You say, how can that happen? It happens because we are at the bottom of the rung, and exponentially when a pay raise happens, pay raise is on a higher salary. And where a person would say, well, I'd love to teach in Poquoson for $3,000, $4,000 difference. Now that's $8,000 or $9,000 difference. And the folks that we have here are willing to commit to us for that. But it's not all about pay, but pay matters. And I can't say thank you enough. Mr. Fye's here representing the city council. They do everything they can to help us, but we're in a real bind trying to be competitive. You've seen the results. I put those results up against anybody. They're not exactly where we want them to be, but they're better than most. And people live here because of that. And I know I'm on a soapbox here, but we've got to really roll our sleeves up and find a way to close that gap financially for our educators. Anyway, thank you.
Safety. As you know, safety really is something that it has become, I guess, over the years, something you really call it's a living type of a thing, because you're always addressing it, you're always going to it. Something happens, you look and see what things you need to change, what things you need to make better. But during the summer, there are some fairly routine things that all schools do and you go through. The division-wide process plan, really, there's not a lot of updates that need to be done during the summer, because that is a living document. And as things would happen throughout the year, if there need to be changes, then we make those changes at that time. But we just kind of clean everything up during the summer to get everything out fresh. All the schools have school-based crisis management plans that they go through with their teachers. All of that is updated. School safety audits are done in conjunction with the police department, the SROs. Those school safety audits all will culminate in a division safety audit, which is basically one of the things I'm working on right now. Every 3 years, the Department of Criminal Justice Services requires you to do a safety inspection checklist. This was year 3, actually, for that, so it's been a while since we've done it, but what we saw is what we would have expected to see. We've got a really good handle on our facilities and where we're at, so there really were no surprises with that. All the schools complete emergency drill schedules. All the ballistic film has been installed in all of the schools at this point. Digital mapping is in the finalization phase. And I've mentioned this before, but essentially, in quick, what the digital mapping is going to do is it lays out all of our schools on a grid, and all of these grids feed into all of your emergency management services computer databases. So they're not only good for us to have, but all of your emergency responders have these, and they're able to communicate, such as if it were on a grid and you had a problem in D3, they would be able to communicate there's an issue in quadrant D3, and they're able to go to where they need to by following that type of a thing. So we're in the finalization phase of that now, and that's actually paid for. We got a grant to pay for that through the DCJS. So while I think we're paying up front in the end, we're not going to have any of our actual money in it. We had to put a new A-phone in. And if you don't know, the A-phone is the little machine that unlocks the doors from the office at the elementary school. If you're familiar with the elementary school, you know you would go through the first set of doors and they're unlocked, while all the other schools, we lock down both sets of doors. The A-phone that was at the elementary school was old enough that it could not be updated, so we had to completely replace that device. So now both doors will be locked down, and the other, I guess, good thing to that is there are now 2 stations, so you don't have to be in one spot to open the door. There are a couple of different places that can be worked from. So that's been done, and they're working on the finalization of that right now. We've ordered walkie-talkies and repeaters for the middle school. If you spent much time in the middle school, you would think that we have blockers for self-service and walkie-talkies and everything else, but the reality is it didn't get great service in that building because of the steel and the block, and it's much worse now. If you're going to use a cell phone, you pretty much have to walk to a window or walk outside. Unfortunately, they have the same problems with the walkie-talkies. So sometimes if they're trying to talk from one end of the school to the other end of the school, they have to relay the message to one person, then it has to be relayed to another person. We can install repeaters to get that taken care of. We have ordered those. The purchase orders have been in. Right now, the holdup is we have to wait on SEC licensing before we can actually get those repeaters and get them installed and have the walkie-talkies in. And I would say we don't have a specific time frame, but I would say sooner than later. The purchase orders have been out for several months, but I do know they're working on that. AEDs, we've talked about this. Essentially, right now, the fire department, the Poquoson Fire Department, will bring these, switch them out, do the installation once they all come in. We have 1 per school right now, 1 in or near each nurse's station. That will change to 1 will go in the same spot in addition to 1 being in the gym, and then 1 mobile with the trainer. Our lobby guard system, which is the visitor management system, a company called Raptor bought Lobby Guard out. And the good thing is Raptor isn't going to charge us anymore to continue with their system. And Raptor's a little bit more robust system than what Lobby Guard is. So all of those that will be up and going by the time school comes. And again, the school security officers, we're still working on hires. We do need applicants. If anyone knows any potential or retired law enforcement military people that are interested in working with the schools, we have a good opportunity for them. And looking at our facilities, I don't think I can jinx it at this point, but the HVAC and the roof have gone off almost flawlessly at the primary school this summer. There have been very few problems, and you can walk through the school right now and probably this whole week, and you never would have known the substantial amount of work that's been done in that building this year. And both of those projects really are wrapping up, and they're down to kind of more like punch list types of things. So we're going to be in a lot better shape there. The library blinds at the middle school installation coming next week. We did a lot of concrete work throughout. If you look at the front of the middle school, you'll see a much better design. All of your sidewalks now flowing toward the front of the school. The ruts that people couldn't walk through when it rained because of the puddles should be taken care of now, and we have a suitable handicap access now for people to get through. And then there were several other things that we did with concrete, and most of those were more of safety types of issues. For example, what we did at the athletic field, we poured a concrete pad where the bleachers are, where the band sits, because every bad storm that you have, any strong winds, those bleachers tip over. If a wind's going to tip it over, kids are going to tip it over eventually. So we have those fixed so they can now be bolted down, and those other things are primarily for safety issues. We have some handicap playground equipment that will be installed at both the primary school and the elementary school. It's a merry-go-round. It's been a little bit more cumbersome than we initially thought. It will be very nice. It will be a rubberized, pourable play that goes in with those at both schools. And it has taken a while to get the equipment in, but I'm glad it has taken a while because we really didn't want to do any of that installation with the work going on at the primary school. And while we're on playgrounds, I do want to thank Mr. Fye. The last couple of years, I know last year I looked for a couple of months trying to find a playground inspector because I wanted someone to go through our playgrounds to tell us, are they safe? What do we need to do? And kind of just pick them apart. And I ran across Mr. Fye, who actually has a certification, and I've asked him both years to come and go through our playgrounds, and he's immediately agreed. And I've tried to pay him, but he won't take payment from us to do anything. And this year we changed it up a little bit and actually sent some maintenance guys around just to make sure we got all of the kinks and everything that needed to be addressed, and we didn't miss anything. So we do appreciate all of your help with that. It certainly gives us a much greater level of security when we have the kids out there, when we have somebody who knows what they're doing looking at those. The PHS gym floor, if you have the opportunity, you need to look at that floor. It was taken completely down to all of the paint coming off, all of the bare wood. The problem was it had been refinished for so many years. Each time you would screen and recoat, it's starting just to delaminate, and the pieces on the floor coming up. And Mr. Roberts was pretty heavily involved in the design of the floor, and it is really nice. If you have the opportunity, you certainly need to look at it. And then the middle school and the elementary school, that was just the typical screening and refinishing that we do to them. The new softball field scoreboard has been installed and is working now. I don't know if you knew, but when it came in, we could not get it installed because we did not have the equipment to get it out there because the ground was so soft, everything just sunk. So once the ground got solid enough, we got it out. It's installed. We've also have an audio system installed at the softball field. And the football field, the athletic field at the middle school, the audio system was finished today, and they are doing their final checks on that tomorrow. So we'll be ready for the game this weekend on that. Some of the more substantial things that I'll mention, and we'll talk about these in the capital improvement plan, is we're really starting to see some pretty substantial problems with the HVAC at the high school and at the elementary school. Our boilers at the high school are 41 years old. The chillers are right at 27 to 31 years old. The other units, the rooftop units, the HVAC units are 30 years old, I think in excess of 30 years old. It costs us a pretty substantial amount of money to get the chiller going this year, just to get air going at the high school. It's pretty rapidly deteriorating. We've had 2 rooftop units go down at the high school just this summer. So that is something that we're probably getting ready to see a lot more issues come up with. And as new as the elementary school seems, the heating and air units there are reaching end of life. In May, the last makeup air units went out there. We've spent a pretty substantial amount of money to get new control boards built so we can even diagnose what's wrong with those, so we can get them going again. So just to be on your radar, that those are some things that we're currently working with and dealing with. In technology, all of our Chromebook system checks were completed and updated. We're going to keep a couple of summer workers a little bit long this year to try to get all of the repairs done. We've ordered a lot of extra Chromebooks to have them on hand, but we still have some that we need to repair. The high school and the primary school now have docking stations in place. Last year we got laptops for all of the teachers, so now all of their teacher stations are working off of a docking station with an extra monitor, so they have the laptop that they can take home or use at work. In the forum at the high school, we've installed lighting, a new soundboard, a new light board, new HDMI cables rather than the VGA cables. Essentially, we've made it a spot where we can stream events. We could actually stream events and send them here to broadcast out on TV. So there's a lot of different capabilities with the things that we've done, and we do the same type of thing. That was in the infrastructure that was made at the middle school when it was built. New projectors were installed at the primary school. They were all essentially had reached end of life. We're hanging speakers in the gym for audio at the middle school, cameras and alarms at the maintenance shop. We did not have any handicap door operators at the primary school, ironically enough, and I don't think that it was pointed out last year and we saw we needed to do something. So as we've been doing the work on the doors, that's one of the things that's been being finalized. And then our security camera replacements are ongoing, as we've talked about. And finally, in transportation. At this point, our routes are being finalized. Our routes have been assigned to drivers. We're still kind of, you'll work and you'll shuffle routes up until the beginning of school, and we're still working on that. Alternative transportation information has been sent out to families, and drivers have attended one of their 2 required yearly trainings. One of the changes that is worth mentioning is what we're going to do with kindergarten for next year. So, in looking at a variety of things, but primarily to increase safety, we're looking at a model that's a little bit more like some of the surrounding divisions around us. And what's going to happen, and I'm probably not going to give this justice, Ms. Kaysen, so I'm sure you'll have to give your parents more information. But each kindergarten student will receive 3 pink tags, and the sample is what will look similar to the picture that we have up here. So those tags are going to be the identification for the child to get off the bus, okay? So rather than us depend on, say you have a sub-bus driver, a parent waiting, and you have 5 or 6 kids getting off the bus at a stop, do you actually know if that's the parent of that kindergartner that's getting off? You don't. These tags will allow that, so whoever has that tag is who we will then hand the child off to when they get off. If they don't have the tag, then we'll bring them back to the school. It really just gives us a little bit more reassurance, and it honestly will help, and it will help efficiency to make sure that we're getting the right kids with the right parents. And we've not had any big issues. Just a matter of really looking at what is the best thing and the most efficient way to operate. If a child's getting off with a sibling, the parents, if they'll just let the primary school know, they'll fix tags and we'll affix it to the book bag. So that way the drivers can see easily where the child should get off. If you need more than the 3 tags, parents, then please feel free to contact the primary school and they will work with you and get you what you need. We are currently fully staffed with drivers and bus aides. Now, I have 1 substitute who can drive 2 days a week. So if I have someone out, we're combining routes, we're making things work. The good thing is we really have an excellent fleet of drivers who don't hesitate to step up and do what they need, but we do need substitutes. So if anybody knows of anyone who's interested in working in that role, we would be happy to talk to them to look at bringing them in. So that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. So going back to each of the categories for the hiring, which was more effective than all the others? Like where you had your job fairs, your in-person, your word of mouth, all that stuff?
I think the amount of promotion that we did probably has been the most effective thing, because we we didn't let it rest. You know, if anything, we went more of the route, we're going to keep pushing it and keep pushing it. We're going to publicize who we hire. We're going to keep putting it out there. And, you know, the social media has helped. You know, you like it, or you don't like it. That's something that people look at, and lots of different people look at, and they see, and it directs them to a way. But I guess, in my opinion, the amount of promotion that we've done, combined with our principals have been very aggressive in hiring. And they've been like a dog on a bone if they've heard of a potential good candidate, and going after them and figuring out ways. You know, it may not be exactly what we want, but what can we rearrange within the school that will make our situation within the school work for the best for the kids, for the people that we're able to have. But would you say the same, Mr. Tillett?
I would agree with that. I think, you know, we pay a tiny little amount each time we cast our net wider with social media, and each time we do, we get more hits. So that's one simple way of monitoring. Is it worth, you know, you pay a few extra bucks to, you know, to reach a larger crowd, and each time we get more interest on our HR website. So I would say that's probably our biggest, if you had to pick one. But it's the and versus or, I think. We're going to do everything that we can. We're on Indeed. We're everywhere you can be advertising, and that's the market we're in. We have to, that's the new normal.
And then another question, as far as the AED, is it the type of AED when it's open, it alerts dispatch and they know exactly where the incident is?
It doesn't alert dispatch. Some of the there are a couple of different types of boxes per se that they're in. For example, the one at the high school, when you open it, it will alarm, but it just alarms that it's been opened. It doesn't send a signal off. They're the AEDs that, and Mr. Chodos, you can probably put this into a lot better words than I can, but they're the kind of the ones that really they tell you what you need to do, how you need to do it, and tell you every little step of the way. But as per actually sending an alert out, no, they don't do that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I have a question too. So we said we had 2 less than last year. How many total people did we lose last year?
I can tell you that. This year, we had a total of 41 teachers and 18 staff members that left. And again, when I say staff, I'm clumping, it's a very broad category. Thank you.
Are there any public comments?
Yes, we have Keith Fye of 10 Willis Court.
Welcome, Mr. Fye. I just have to read the public comment statement. So, the Poquoson School Board welcomes comment during regular meetings. School board members do not respond to public comment during a meeting. All comments should address a matter related to Poquoson Public Schools. The school board will not hear public comment that involves an individual student-related matter, the disclosure of which would violate applicable confidentiality requirements. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectively disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and not to one individual board member, nor to the superintendent, a staff member, or the audience. Speakers are encouraged not to engage in personal attacks. Speakers will present their comments from the podium. To follow school board policy, time allotted to the speaker shall be 3 minutes.
Okay, great. I'm Keith Fye. As you said, I live at 10 Willis Court in Huntwood subdivision. I was able to get here because they aren't working on the sewer this week. Exactly. Already been mentioned, I did the playground inspection, but that's not the reason I came here. I did come here to talk about playgrounds, however. Dr. Ratliff was nice enough to ask me to inspect the playgrounds, which I did, and then re-examine them again this summer, just like 2 weeks ago, and found a lot of the same things, and he promised me he's going to get them fixed. Those little items like there, basically they're great, especially for those that have had children in the primary school. I love those playgrounds. Little tweaks can make them even safer than they are right now. My concern is that when the children leave the second grade and go into the third grade, they're hit with the elementary school playground, which is, dare I say, below standards for you. I went and looked at 3 playgrounds in our area, Bethel Manor, Tab Elementary School, and Mount Vernon Elementary Schools. Their playgrounds are considerably bigger and better. And the reason I did that is about a week later at Spark 2.0, I went and sit in Katie Johnson's STEAM and K-5 settings, and I listened to her talk some great things about how you need to encourage student creativity. Well, nothing encourages student creativity more than getting them out on a playground and watching them go. I've always said that most games or students, when they get on a playground, they turn to one of 2 things, tag or chase me. And the playground that we have really isn't conducive for that at the elementary school level. So they kind of take a step down when they go from second grade to third grade, that I think can be built back up. If you want to see creativity, just watch children on a playground. They're going to create all sorts of games and come up with new and crazy ideas, which is great stuff we want to encourage they can take back into the classroom with them. So, plus they get the physical activity out and give the teachers a bit of a break before they start back in the rest of the day. So, I know that money is tight. I know that things are tough. If you have the opportunity to go down and look at the elementary school playground, please do so. Take a walk around it. It's safe, only one exception to that, and it's going to be fixed. But as far as the creativity aspect and bringing that out of the child, I think we could do a little bit better for our students. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Fye.
You're welcome.
All right, I'll ask Dr. Burbidge to read the consent agenda.
So the consent agenda is approval of financial reports, which is enclosed, authorization to change appropriation and to accept and expand funds in accordance with attached request. Item C, approval of personnel action. Item D, approval of minutes for June's regular meeting and work session.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as read.
I second it.
Thank you. We'll call for the vote. Ms. Firth?
Aye.
Dr. Goodell?
Aye.
Mr. Childress?
Aye.
Ms. Jones? Aye. Mr. DeBose?
Aye.
Vice Chair Burbidge?
Aye.
Chair Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes. Vote is 7-0.
Thank you. Other matters for consideration. We have a consideration of approval of the second reading of changes to the policy manual. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Ms. Firth, will you call for the vote, please?
Mr. Ingram?
Aye.
Dr. Goodell?
Aye.
Childress?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. DeBose?
Aye.
Vice Chair Burbidge?
Aye.
Chair Martin?
Aye.
Passes. Vote is 7-0.
Thank you. And before we consider the motion for the approval of the proclamation, I will ask Mr. Ingram to read the proclamation for Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month for us, please.
Whereas the Hispanic and Latino community represents a large, diverse, and vital part of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and whereas dating back many centuries, Hispanic and Latino heritage in the Commonwealth of Virginia has a significant influence on the rich fabric of our society, and whereas vibrant Hispanic and Latino influence can be seen in all aspects of Virginia life and culture, including the arts, sciences, business, academia, government, and our nation's military. And whereas Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month began in 1988 with a 31-day commemoration beginning on September the 15th and ending on October the 15th in order to pay tribute to and recognize the importance contributions of Hispanic and Latino Americans. And whereas September 15th is significant as the anniversary of independence for the Latin American countries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. And whereas Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence on September 16th and September 18th, respectively. And whereas the Virginia Latino Advisory Board was created to recognize the importance of contributions of Latinos in Virginia and continues to advise and inform the governor on issues facing Latino constituents and to advocate for Latino interests. And whereas citizens are encouraged to participate in activities designed to bring recognition, understanding, and appreciation of significant contributions made by Hispanic and Latino Americans. And whereas our Hispanic and Latino community exhibits devotion to family, faith, country, and entrepreneurship, bringing unique perspectives and experiences that strengthen the spirit of Virginia. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 22nd day of August in the year 2023 by the School Board of the City of Poquoson that the month of September the 15th through October the 15th, 2023, be hereby celebrated as Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month throughout the school division.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Can we get a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Worth, will you call for the vote, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Childress?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. DeBose?
Aye.
Vice Chair Burbidge?
Aye.
Chair Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes, vote is 7-0.
Thank you. And we'll open the communication and other matters by the school board and/or the superintendent. And anything you'd like to share?
Yes, I have the report.
Wonderful.
I will be starting off with the Poquoson Primary School. Things are looking great at PPS, namely our new roof and HVAC system, which have been installed this summer. We are so happy to have comfortable room temperatures and no leaks. We are now working overtime to get our building back in shape for our students. Teachers arrived last week and immediately jumped into professional learning, training, and collaboration with each other. We are welcoming several new staff members and have some familiar faces in new places. We have a new curriculum for social emotional learning called Caring School Community, which is being piloted in several of our classrooms. The teaching strategies and materials tie into and build upon some good groundwork that has already been in place. We hope this curriculum will provide more resources for everyone at home. Stay tuned if your child's teacher is one of our pilot team members. Also help us with building capacity around social emotional learning. We are shifting our school counselor out of our encore rotation. In doing so, we can maximize her time with individual and small groups who may need additional support. To replace the guidance encore, we are now offering Spanish as an encore in the rotation. We are pleased to share that Senor Ramiro Ramirez, who has been a Spanish encore teacher at PES, will now be joining us in the afternoons. We are excited for the opportunity to start your child in a second language and to expose them to different cultures and communities. Finally, and most importantly, this Thursday, August 24th, we will be welcoming students and families to our open house between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. At open house, you'll be able to meet the teacher, drop off school supplies, complete important forms for your student's teacher and the school, sign up for free/reduced lunch if applicable, get technology assistance with PowerSchool login and/or form completion, tour the Encore classrooms, and take advantage of photo ops. We will also have several tables in the gym for you to visit, including the PPS cafeteria, PPS transportation, PPS PTO, YMCA before and after school care, Bayport Credit Union, Scouts of America, and Poquoson Public Library. And now for the Poquoson Elementary School report. Poquoson Elementary School has welcomed 15 new staff members. Our teachers have been prepping classrooms, welcoming new team members. We attended Spark on Friday and are proud of our elementary school staff members who represented ideas to others. We are grateful for the PCPS maintenance and custodial teams who have been working in the building this summer to prepare our students and staff's return. We look forward to meeting our students and their families at our open house on Wednesday, August 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m. And now for the middle school report. Poquoson Middle School staff have been hard at work preparing for an outstanding school year. Teachers have been participating in professional development, decorating their classrooms, and planning engaging lessons. PowerSchool is opened as of August 18th, and all PMS students should now be able to view their schedule online. Students and parents can also now access course information videos on their Canvas page. These are personalized videos from each of their teachers sharing important information pertaining to their class. Watch these videos in advance will help students understand course expectations and enable parents to better support students at home. We are very excited to meet our students and their families at open house on Thursday, August 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. As a reminder, all 7th grade students must provide proof of vaccination prior to attending school. PMS will administer student growth assessments for reading and math to all PMS students on Wednesday, August 30th and Thursday, August 31st. This test is not pass-fail, and students do not receive a grade on this assessment. The purpose of this test is to provide a baseline for content knowledge which will be used to determine growth as the year progresses. Our first PTO meeting will occur on September 7th, and we would like to thank our outstanding parent-teacher organization for all of their support. They are truly fantastic. We are looking forward to a great school year. And finally, now for the Poquoson High School report. All staff have returned to Poquoson High School and are preparing for students to begin the 23-24 school year. As always, PHF staff have been preparing rooms, collaborating, learning, and taking the necessary steps to ensure our tradition of excellence continues. Thank you, PHS staff, for all of your hard work. Our open house event is tomorrow, August 23rd, from 4 to 6 p.m. All students and families are encouraged to attend to tour the building, meet teachers, and get their class schedule and Chromebook. Upon entering open house, students will locate their first period class using the sheets posted on the walls and report to that room first to get their class schedule. After getting your schedule, students may tour the building on their own. Class of 2024 seniors are required to have the ACWY vaccine prior to entering this school year. PHS must have documentation from each senior prior to the beginning of the school year to attend. Yearbooks have been shipped, and we will be communicating pickup times once they arrive. One lunch will be part of our daily schedule this year, allowing students the opportunity to meet with teachers, make up work, study, have a quiet space, exercise, socialize, and of course eat. 2-week schedules will be posted in the Island Times in advance so students can see all of the events offering or extracurricular activities to attend during one lunch. Our fall athletic teams have been in action since the beginning of the month and are now starting to compete. The golf team has already started playing matches and are finding early success and improving. Our football, field hockey, and volleyball teams have all had scrimmages and look to begin the regular season this week, with our first home event being our varsity football team versus Southampton High School this Friday at Poquoson Stadium. Our cross-country and cheer teams, as well as our sailing program, will also be competing soon. Good luck to all of our fall athletes and programs. Our band has been working hard at band camp for the past several days and is performing at a high level already. This year's halftime show is a must-see that begins Friday night. As always, please check out the Island Times for updates and all things Poquoson High School. Thank you, and good luck to all students and staff for a successful school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Thatcher. Mr.
Yeah, want to thank administration for being able to think outside the box and finding the resources that we need for the students. And teachers, welcome back to school and hoping for a productive and successful year. And students, welcome back to school as well. Thank you.
Dr. Dale?
I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you to Amber and the building principals and the teachers for that great preliminary report on our student achievement. That looks promising. So that's hats off to the hard work that last academic year. And now that we charge ahead into our next academic year, go ahead and do it again. Thanks.
Mr. Childress?
I'd like to agree with everything they just said. I'd like to thank the employees and volunteers for getting our school ready for the school year. We've had multiple conversations about safety, and it's great to see the updates that are into our schools. I want to thank the staff, the fire department, and the police departments for their valuable input in getting these changes, and thank you, Thatcher, for your update.
Thank you. Ms. Jones?
I agree with all the comments. Thatcher, thank you for all of that information, and welcome and congratulations on your position. Thank you for all the work that has been done all of the summer. The reports were very informative. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to getting started on a successful school year. So thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Mr. DeBose?
Echo everyone else's comments. Teachers, there's only 17 Fridays till Christmas, so it's coming close.
I like it. Dr. Burbidge?
I'd like to thank Kelly Purdy for her work on the Spark 2.0. I'd also like to thank Amber Brown, Dr. Ratliff, and Tracy Spence for their informative updates. There was a lot of work that happened through the summer. Happy about the new roof on the Poquoson Primary School. Our office doesn't have a rain barrel in it anymore. Thatcher, I'm happy that you're working with us. You gave a great update. I hope that all the teachers have a great school year. I hope the students are successful in their endeavors, and looking forward to a great year.
I echo everybody's sentiment as well. Kudos to the teams of people that we have, getting everybody to school and started safely with the people that we need in place. It would be remiss for me not to welcome Ms. Jones, Mr. DeBose to the board, so welcome, and many thanks to City Council for your support in getting us board members and participants with us, and for your generous appropriations of dollars to keep us running, and your wonderful playground recommendations that I'm sure you'll hear about again, Mr. Fye. Also, would like to give a shout out to the school administrative team and the school board when the band did their presentation of their halftime show on Friday. I have not one but two band kids that say they're not band kids, but they are. It was brought to our attention the dollars that the school board had given to the band. It's the first time that their uniforms replacement had been fully funded by the school board and by the school division. And so they were very, very thankful and appreciative, and it allowed them to do some other things for the band. So thanks to our teammates and the vision from the administration. So really appreciate that support. Mr. Tillett?
Go Bull Islanders.
Go Islanders. All right. Is there any material for board review?
There is none.
All right. Hearing none, then we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting tonight. Thank you, everybody. The meeting is adjourned.